welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess from BehatiLife. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're talking about my morning practice, my morning spiritual practice more specifically, and my sacred space. This is something that I've had set in stone for over 3 to 4 years now, and I feel like that's being humble. Not humble, but it's not really an accurate reflection. I can't really remember when I started this, but it was years ago, and now it's so ingrained in me, and it's something that I've been doing. You know what? I have to say it's probably over 5 years now, being honest with you. But anyways, neither here nor there. This is my morning practice that I have been doing for years that has helped me to connect with the divine, helped me to continue to build and strengthen my sacred space, and also help me to connect with my intuition. First, what I like to do when I wake up in the mornings immediately is go into prayer. Now, this is something that I feel like some people struggle with because they want those additional 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour of sleep before they get ready for work. I actually got in the habit of setting my alarm 20 minutes before I was supposed to wake up and have my alarm go off, because it was a commitment that I made to myself and to God. That it was almost like a sacrifice that I made, that I needed to, in order for me to have change going on in my life or positive things happening for me, then I would then test myself and show my commitment and my readiness for these changes to happen to my life by promising that I would wake up 20 minutes before I was supposed to, without fail, and go directly into prayer. Now, in the beginning, it was so difficult for me to do this because, just like everyone else, for the most part, you do want to have those additional minutes for sleep. And if you stay where you're at within the bed, or if you go right into prayer with your eyes closed, chances are you're going to fall back to sleep. So in the beginning, when I started this, I actually had to remove myself from my bed and go into a sacred space, which, as you know, or maybe if you're new to the channel, I will tell you, it's just a regular $7 hand-woven mat that I got for, I found on my travels that I use, and I just throw it down on the floor and just go to my hands and my knees, or maybe I sit in the lotus position and I just focus on my prayer, my meditation, and connecting with God. Sometimes the prayer is something very simple as thank you, for another morning. Here I am now. I've got these, this day ahead of me, help me throughout this day. Other times it was more intricate, depending on what it was that was going on in my life. But either way, it was a conversation that I had ongoing with God, that I would set that time for 20 minutes. Over time, I want to say, right now I'm not really good with time frames, and to each is everyone. To everyone is so different. So I don't want to say, over a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 months or a year, you're going to have this revolution of a change where it's just going to be ingrained in you. Everyone is so different. But if you stay with it and if you're consistent, you just automatically wake up and you enter into that space. And you already know what to expect, and you actually don't fall asleep. Of course, there's going to be days where, the waking up and staying awake is going to be a little difficult. But for me, years later, it's even before I wake up and as I consciously and when I'm conscious that I'm actually awake, my brain instantly goes into God. It goes into seeking God, it goes into seeking the higher power, it goes into seeking the divine, calling out the divine's name and inviting that spirit into my life, because it's time for us to talk. It's our one-on-one sacred space. Now, when life gets crazy, when life gets busy, or when you have changes going on in your life, you'll have certain distractions. For example, when I was in my relationship, I would wake up and that person would be right next to me, and I instantly go to cuddle them or, give them a hug or whatever the case may be. And it kind of works, instead of me starting off with prayer, I would then get distracted by, going to my partner. And just full disclosure, I want to be completely honest with you guys. You guys know I like to keep it real and authentic with you. So in times in life, you're going to have a little bit of distraction, but it's up to you to stay committed. It's up to you to stay connected. So the second thing that I like to do when I'm starting my spiritual practice the second thing that I do every morning for my spiritual practice is after my prayer, I go and I make myself a pot of tea. Really what this does for me is it helps my body, it helps me to connect the physical level, the physical aspect of the spiritual life. And really what this does is it gets herbs in my body, it gets my body hydrated, it helps me feel good. I set intentions by picking whatever herb that it is that I'm going to be using, that I'll be using in my tea. You already know that I have a huge an apothecary that has an extensive amount of herbs that I can select from daily, but at the moment my favorite things to go towards or move towards is green tea. Obviously, that's something that can be found anywhere within any grocery store. The more pure, the better. The higher quality, the better. Jasmine tea, peony tea, chamomile tea, but mostly you'll see me gravitating towards white peony tea, green tea, and jasmine tea to start my morning, or sometimes peppermint tea depending on what's going on. So these are like natural teas that you can do. Also, feel free to add mugwort or anything else that you prefer in order to get yourself spiritually started for the day. The third thing that I like to do after I've had my tea or as I have my teacup is I like to naturally gravitate towards my tarot cards and start shuffling. Now, I personally prefer to go to the tarot because it's so open, and I've already connected with the divine. I've already connected with my angels and invited them into my life for the day. I have my tea, I'm relaxing, I'm breathing in the scents and the fumes of the herbs, and I'm drinking the nourishment of it. And I like to shuffle and connect with the cards first and foremost before I do anything else. I don't even check an astrology chart because I don't want to see immediately what's going on within the planets, because I just feel like I don't want to be influenced by the energy or be influenced by what I'm expecting. I want to stay open. So even though the planets are currently transiting within our chart, or within each of our charts, they're currently transiting through the cosmos, I like to keep it open-ended for these intuitive messages to come to me, and I journal them. I write them down. I write down the message. Sometimes I don't even write down the message or take too long with it. I just write down what cards I've pulled and anything additional that comes to me, and at the end of the day I return back to it if I want to, and if I'm, intuitively drawn to do it, I will allow myself to channel a message for myself. But for recently, full disclosure, being fully honest with you guys, I will write down the cards for the day and return back to it at the end of the day, and see how they felt and see what messages they had for me. This is something that I recommend for people who are learning the tarot in general. This is something that I recommend if you're trying to build a relationship with your tarot cards, and also something that I recommend if you're working on self-reflection and self-growth and self-awareness, because the cards will read you. You don't read the cards read you, and they will tell you about yourself, because they always do. So yeah, I definitely start my mornings with a card shuffle. 9 times out of 10, I allow the cards to, as I'm shuffling the cards, I allow the cards to jump. If there are no jumpers during that time, and if you would like to see me do a video about jumping cards, I can do that. Leave it in the comments below. But if there are no jumpers, then I will pull 2 cards myself. I like to layer my messages. If you don't already know that, I can make a video about why I layer my messages and how I layer my messages for tarot cards. Again, leave that in the comments below. I'll do whatever it is that you guys want me to talk about. But yeah, across the board, I, write those messages down, and then I, wait to see at the end of the day, like how it applied, what message it had for me. And you know what, too, is that when I leave it open, as my day, unfolds, and I have no expectations, and I'm not waiting for anything to happen, something will happen. I'm like, that's what the cards wanted me to know about. Thank you for letting me know. And then I go right back to that prayer space with God, the divine, the higher power, and I'm like, you know what, I need help with this, or thank you for making me aware, or thank you for this blessing. Thank you for this abundance. I had no idea that this blessing was going to come into my life. Wow. You know what I mean? So already you just kind of start this momentum of conversation, connection, and just taking care of yourself. Like ultimately just goddess vibes all around. So I already mentioned this before, but the last and final thing that I like to do at the beginning of my day and at the end of my day is I like to journal. So I already have my journal out while I was shuffling my cards. At this moment in my life, I have been using my journal more as a conversation, like a handwritten letter that I'm writing to my higher power, or to the higher power, to my angels, to my guides. It's like setting an intention for the day. But when I first started off, it was more of me journaling my day and the things that it is that I wanted to occur. Now it's more of a conversation and a dialogue that I just keep going. All right, so the light is changing. I don't know if you guys are already seeing this and if I'm sitting in the dark at the moment, but which is kind of annoying, but you know what? If you have any questions or if there's certain things that you like to do to start your day, please let me know in the comments below. If there's something else that you would like to talk about that's outside of tarot or my day-to-day life, I'm more than happy to do that. But either way, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll stay in contact. I love you. Bye.